Hello YouTube, and we are back with another DIY project, and today I'm going to review a video that I did in the past of how to tab a solar cell. So this one's going to be basically the same thing, but the key difference being it's going to be in full HD, a little bit better audio quality. I'm going to try and give a little bit of a better tutorial on how to do it because it was a little bit hard to see in the first video. So just like in the last video, there's a few things you're going to need. You're going to need some solder. I prefer the rosin core stuff. You're going to need some solar cells, obviously, and you're going to need a flux pen. Now, there's different kinds of flux pens, and you have to make sure you get a proper one because some of these Chinese ones are just basically alcohol, and it's pretty much useless. But I'll put a link in the description for some decent stuff to get. Aside from that, it's not a whole lot different. We're going to need some tabbing wire to tab the center of the cells, and if you're not really sure what that is, I can put some extra things in the description for that. But basically, you have to put a piece of tabbing strip down the middle of the cell right here, and you have to join that to the back of another cell to complete the connection. Now, each one of these cells, no matter the size, is always about half a volt. So you constantly put these in series until you get the right voltage that you need, which is most commonly 18 volt for smaller consumer stuff. And the larger the cell, the higher the amperage. So if you get a nice big wide one like this, you get much more surface area to capture sunlight. So this particular cell will give a lot more. Now I'm going to do some more small ones today, and I would actually suggest that if this is your first time doing a solar cell, that you practice on these small ones. They're much cheaper, they're very easy to get, and you're not going to be too upset if you break a few of these, because you will break some if you're new to this. So first things first, we need to cut our tabbing strips. So they usually come in rolls like so. Now these rolls come with quite a bit in there, but you need little tiny cuts of it. So the best way I found was to just take a piece of paper, mark out the full length of one, or width of one cell, and then about half of another. So this way you can just quickly place the wire down and just give it a quick cut. So you actually have to cut it properly. So once you get a few of these cut, I'll just cut maybe 2 or 3 of these things here. So just for demonstration purposes. And one thing I am going to mention too is you should never ever touch a solar cell with your bare hands. You should be wearing latex gloves or something of the sort for that. I'm just going to move that out of the way here. Okay, so before we start joining these together, you need your soldering iron. Now, 25 watt I found was a little bit too weak. 40 watt is what I use, and I found it's the perfect balance point. You don't want to be too hot that you burn the cell, and you don't want to be too weak that it doesn't get a proper connection. So for this, you're going to want to take your a file and just file the edge a little bit here along the tip. Now what this basically does is it cleans the surface, because we want something nice and flat. You want to give it a nice good contact. Let's see if it'll focus on the tip here. I'm not sure if it will. It's not going to focus. That's fine. Alright, now the back of the cell, I usually try and make sure the larger part of the white strip is facing upwards, just so whenever we do solder them together, it makes it easier to do it, since we are only cutting 1.5 length strips of tabbing wire. So first things first, you're going to lay out your cell. You're going to take your flux pen, give it a little shake, and just like as if it were a pen, what you're going to do is you're basically just going to draw down the middle, just laying a very light layer of some flux down. And what this is going to do is it's going to help that solder bond with the surface, because we want a very good connection for this. Make it as most efficient as possible. We'll lay down our tabbing wire. And to get things started, we're going to put a little tiny bit of solder on the tip here. Doesn't take much, you just want a little bit. You should probably use something to weigh it down. Don't use your fingers like I do. I've mentioned this before, because you'll probably burn yourself if you do it this way. But I've done this a few times here, so it makes it a little bit easier for somebody like me. Okay, whoop, there we go. I'm messing it up. There we go. So you want to go down the length of the cell, So it went a little bit crooked on me. So I'm going to go right back. Okay. So that's one cell. We're going to repeat this process for the second one. So you're going to get your piece of cell here, take your flux pen, go along the center. Alright, place that down the middle. Tap a little bit of solder on the tip of your soldering iron. I'm just going to move this. I got a piece of paper in the way here. It's starting to annoy me. Okay, so now. Okay. Here we go. Now you want to continue down the strip a little bit, and the reason for that is whenever we go to join it to the other side of the other cell, there's going to be a little bit of solder already on the bottom. Okay, put our soldering gun away here. So now we have two cells that are tabbed. I'll try and hold this straight in the view of the camera here. So just like that. See if it'll focus on it. There we go. Alright, so now that we have a few of these tabs, what you want to go ahead and do is flip them over. Alright, now we basically want to join this tab to the bottom of that cell. So it's a very, very similar process. Now you only want to put the flux on the white pads. That's it. You don't want to put it too much on the back here. You can if you want, but I don't think it'll stick very well. So alright, now these ones are going to be spaced apart just a little bit because the length of the cell doesn't quite line up. Oh, what's my computer doing here? Alright, there we go. So same process. Get a little bit of solder on this. And what we're going to do is touch there. Now you want to be pretty quick on this side, and the reason why is because if you hold the gun on it too long, it'll actually desolder the other side. So I'm just gonna check something real quick here. Okay, and this is one of the reasons why you don't want to cut your tabs too long. It's very, very close to the edge right there. Now the reason you don't want to be too close is because if it touches, it'll do a bit of a short, and you'll actually lose some efficiency because it'll bypass one of the panels altogether. So I'm just going to fold it up like that a little bit, and we're actually just going to cut that little part off using a pair of scissors. It would help if I had much better scissors, but unfortunately, as it stands, I do not. So let's go ahead and there we go. Okay, so now that it's much shorter, there's no risk of it shorting out like that. Now, these are the cells that we did on the last video. And if you were watching my channel beforehand, you would have seen that one. So let's go ahead and do one more. All right. Here we go. A little bit of flux. And let's line this up. You shouldn't hold the soldering gun above your tabs, the back of your cells when you're doing this too, because if any of it drops on the back, it's gonna ruin your day a little bit. But this is just a quick demonstration tutorial how to basically get them all tabbed together. It's going to take a bit of practice. The first projects people usually attempt are going to be like little cell phone chargers and things like that. You don't want to really attempt anything larger. The 6-inch by 6-inch cells take a little bit of practice to get down pat. So in the meantime, you can practice with these. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, and this is going to be a little bit important, is the pairs on the end. So the top, I believe, is negative and the bottom is positive. So, but you're going to need tails coming off the end to hook into however you're going to do your panel. But we're going to go ahead and do that right now. But give me 1 second. So we're going to grab our scissors. I'm going to cut this one a little bit longer. Bring this one up here. Alright, now just so I'm a little bit more comfortable, I'm going to flip this one around a bit. Take our soldering gun one more time. Here we go. Alright, so this one's not quite as long, and I'll show you why in a second here. Oh, you can hear it crackling. It's hot in the fingers when you do it like this. Alright, so now we have our tail sticking out the end here, and what that's going to be good for is whenever you put a border around this, you generally want this a little bit longer, but you can bridge multiple sets together, because whenever you do, let's say, I don't know, 32 cell panels, so to get yourself up at 18 volt, you have to kind of spread these out the best way. So best thing to do is figure out a piece of glass that you have. If you have any scrap glass kicking around, take all these cells, lay them out on the glass, and see what type of configurations you can fit. You want to do them in equal pairs. So if you have the room for, let's say, 30 cells, then do a 30 cell panel. If you have room for, let's say, 60 or 70 cells, then you can do 2 sets of 30, and then after you're done, you can attach the positive and negatives together, effectively giving you double the panel, but without the same voltage. So you have all your individual cells in series, and then you have each 30 cell panel in parallel with each other. So it's better if you're going to do larger panels just to get larger cells, but it's just if you have extra kicking around, then that can be definitely useful. So I'll show you guys a quick example real quick of what happens when you get a little bit carried away. So this is, I'll just lift this up for you so you can see it better. This is 168 cells, all tabbed but ready to be hooked together. So it's effectively 4 solar panels, but on one sheet. Now, it's a very, very large waste of space because you're wasting the gap in between each of the cells as well. But I had tons of these little things kicking around, so I figured I was going to try something a little bit special. This is a project I'm working on. I'm trying to make a dual voltage panel. Basically speaking, I'm going to have two-way switches that when it's in one position, I'll have 18 volt at approximately 1.2 amp or whatever it is. And then if I flick the switch the other way, instead of bridging the panels in parallel, they'll go back into series, which will give me a much higher voltage. So instead of 18 volt, I'll end up with a 36 volt panel. And it's a little bit more advanced than this, but in case you're wondering why you would want to do that, it's for certain types of inverters. It all depends on what you're using. Sometimes it's more efficient when you have higher voltage battery banks as well. So it all depends on what you're looking for. But I hope this gives you a little bit more insight on how to tab these together. If you have any more questions, or if you want to see more things how to do the panels, I have made a few of them, so I can show you guys different things you can do. But if you're looking for something in particular or how to do anything, leave me a quick question down in the comments. I do check almost every day or two, so I can answer your questions or maybe answer it with another video. But I thank everybody for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And have a good one.